Goran Dragic's time with the Raptors has been tumultuous to say the least. After some early comments about having higher ambitions in the team left a sour taste in the mouths of Toronto Raptors fans, he is also not really contributing much on the court, largely due to the fact that he just really isn't getting any game time. But there is still hope for a trade to happen. So in today's video, we explore 3 perfect mock trades that send Goran Dragic away and bring in great returns for our franchise. Let's get into it. Welcome NBA and Raptors fans. This is Amateur Hour Sports, your source for everything Raptors related. We do Raptors news coverage, game recaps, and mock trade breakdowns like the ones we are doing in this video. So if you like what you see from today's video and you want more of myself talking about the Raptors and videos and content just like this 4+ times a week, make sure you are subscribed to the channel and you can help us on our road to 8,000 subscribers. Thank you guys so much for helping us hit 7,500. But let's get down to business for today's video. We have 3 mock trades for Goran Dragic to 3 different teams, and all 3 of these mock trades I think are mutually beneficial. The Raptors get rid of Dragic. Other teams can get a nice ball handling backup point guard with some veteran presence and some great playoff experience. Also, $19 million of an expiring contract that could be beneficial to other teams as well. The Raptors going to be looking for some young assets in return, and lots of Raptors agreeers this week have talked about the real need for a center for this franchise, myself included in that discussion. So we could also find a way to get that through this. So what we're going to do, we're going to give you each trade one by one. And the last of the 3 actually is quite a surprising one that brings back a former Toronto Raptors player. I know you guys are going to have a keen interest in, so make sure you're sticking around to the end of the video. But the first trade in question, another one that's like maybe a little bit surprising. Haven't seen a lot of rumors about it, but this one definitely makes some sense. Goran Dragic would go to the Chicago Bulls. The Chicago Bulls could be looking for a nice backup point guard ball handler. They don't really have that on their present team, so it'd be good to have somebody who can kind of control a second unit and also provide a wealth of experience to quite a young team. With not a ton of lengthy playoff experience, Zach LaVine has never even played in the playoffs. Nikola Vucevic has very limited experience there. DeRozan has a little bit, but not progressing to the great depths of the playoffs like Goran Dragic, who has played in NBA Finals, played very well in NBA Finals only just a couple of seasons ago. So that would be a nice player for the Chicago Bulls to add. The Raptors could bring back in this trade Coby White and Derrick Jones Jr. Now, the reason I've selected these players is because Derrick Jones Jr. is making $9.7 million this season, and his contract expires at the end of the year. Coby White is making about $5.8 million over this season and the one after this one. Coby White, since coming into the league, very good player coming out of UNC, has just not quite lived up to the billing in the NBA. His defense is a little bit shaky, and he's a generally inefficient point guard with not a ton to offer outside of his scoring. 15 points per game last season on some inefficient shooting, 42% from the field, 36% from 3. But there is potential there that the Toronto Raptors can harness over the next 2 years, and it's not that expensive a contract for the Raptors to have to take on. As it comes to Derrick Jones Jr., that's a hefty amount of money, but that is to balance the books, because Dragic is making $19.4 million this season. Derrick Jones Jr. can provide a nice spark off the bench, somebody who has some switchability on defense and lots of energy to bring to the table. I think that Coby White just hasn't really found his footing in Chicago, and they would be willing to let him go. They may miss Derrick Jones Jr. a little bit, especially in the absence of Patrick Williams this season, but I think that they can cover their bases in other ways, and bringing in a backup ball handling point guard to be assured with the second unit might be worthwhile to the Chicago Bulls. This one I think makes sense for both franchises. The second mock trade that we have is a little bit more obvious, of course. Goran Dragic will be sent to the Dallas Mavericks. I think this is the most likely thing to happen. Goran Dragic going to the Dallas Mavericks, but what is the return going to look like? What are the Raptors going to try to get here? Well, I think that sending Dragic to the Mavericks is great for the Mavericks and great for us. We don't really use Goran Dragic anyway. The Dallas Mavericks could use some ball handling for Luka Doncic in the playoffs so that he doesn't need to take as much of that big load on offense in the playoffs, because in the last couple of seasons, Luka Doncic had to do everything from scoring to playmaking to rebounding. He could use some help. So in the playoffs, maybe give Luka Doncic a little bit more of that scoring role and provide Dragic with that ball handling role to make it a lot more easy for Doncic to be more effective in those playoff situations. This is a good opportunity for the Raptors to bring back the center that they have desperately been craving. Dwight Powell could come to the Raptors along with Trey Burke and Moses Brown. Dwight Powell is one that could come back because Nick Nurse has experience working with Dwight Powell at the international level, and he provides some good fit on the offense. You know, he's not the most elite scorer, not the most elite rebounder, but he works extremely well in the pick and roll, and he's just a versatile part of the offense to be that fifth man, sort of like the way Khem Birch is playing. That's another Canadian center came to the Raptors after not producing the highest amount of numbers on their team, but can come to the Raptors where they maybe fit into the offense a little bit better. Dwight Powell could fit into that category. He's got 2 years left on his contract, $11 million a season. That's, a bit of a hefty price to take on, but is one that is manageable, especially for a Raptors team who desperately needs a center. Trey Burke coming to the Raptors. He's on a 2-year contract, making about $3 million a year. That's a guy who can provide a little bit of shooting off of the bench. I don't know how much we'd use Trey Burke, but in his bigger roles in his career, he has been a very good, sharp shooting three-pointer who can provide a little bit of those point guard type of tendencies on offense. The last one, maybe the best one to bring into the team, Moses Brown, a 7'2" center, is currently playing in the G League with the Mavericks organization. However, last season with the Oklahoma City Thunder, he averaged 8.6 points and 8.9 rebounds in about 21 minutes per game of work. So Moses Brown at 22 years old could be a good center for the future for this team, and the Raptors could absolutely harness some of the talent that he possesses. That is a future walking double-double. Goran Dragic goes to the Mavericks and again provides that nice little role as a point guard duo with Luka Doncic. I think that will work well in the playoffs. Maybe not as much for the regular season, but when it comes to the playoffs, I think Dragic will help out Luka Doncic and as well as the Mavericks a lot. They won't miss Dwight Powell a lot as it comes to the playoffs as well, because when it comes to playoff time, Kristaps Porzingis has to be the 5 on that team. He has to be playing as a center, which means Dwight Powell won't have as big of a role. And with Luka Doncic, as the years go by and as it gets a little bit more frustrating seeing a lack of playoff success, they need to put a focus on the playoffs. This makes sense for them because it's a focus on being better in those playoff situations. The Raptors get back a center for the now, a center for the future, and a little bit of depth. The one drawback is maybe committing those $14 million to Burke and Powell, but I think it could be worth it in this situation. And now, last but not least, this one is a great mock trade that I've conjured up, sending Goran Dragic to the New Orleans Pelicans. And this is definitely a surprising one because you think Goran Dragic would be going to a contender who wants, that expiring contract just to help them with the playoff push. New Orleans Pelicans, they are not that team. However, sending Goran Dragic to the Pelicans is something that could free up money, especially by sending some other players along with him. So in this mock trade that I've delved up here, Goran Dragic, Chris Boucher, and Precious Achiuwa go to the New Orleans Pelicans. We bring back Jonas Valanciunas, and we also get Thomas Satoransky in the deal. Now, let's assess why this trade makes sense for both teams. Now, obviously, the Raptors, we pick up the much-needed center in Jonas Valanciunas. We'll get more on that. But why wouldn't the New Orleans Pelicans have any sort of interest in this trade? Well, this frees up a lot of cap space for them. Goran Dragic, that big contract expiring. Chris Boucher's $7 million is also expiring. So for the next season, in the offseason, that is $27 extra million of space that the New Orleans Pelicans can use to provide some more help to Zion Williamson. The clock is ticking on that Zion Williamson contract. He's not happy in New Orleans. Well, use all that extra money to go find a co-star, another co-star for Zion Williamson, or some better pieces to fit into that puzzle. Because the reality is, when Zion Williamson returns healthy, as phenomenal as Jonas Valanciunas has been playing, and I mean phenomenal, like Jonas is averaging 19 points, 13 rebounds on 51% shooting from the field, and 55% shooting from three, the highest three-point percentage in the NBA. No way it sustains that high, but it's clear that Jonas has worked on his three-point game, averaging 1.8 attempts per game. Nonetheless, that would be a sour one to let go. 3 years, $14 million contract. That's a great contract. That's a great contract for JV. $14 million a year, and he's putting up these numbers. However, not the best fit with Zion. Jonas gets a lot of his points on the interior. He takes up a lot of space in the interior, which is exactly where Zion Williamson needs to operate. I don't think those two are going to gel very well. And New Orleans, they're a lost cause this season. They could do themselves a big favor by freeing up a lot of cap space for the end of the season and kind of cruising right now in a little bit of a tank mode. I mean, that's kind of the reality. I know it's early, but that really is the reality of this Pelicans team. They have done a great job of just absolutely dismantling any sort of roster that they had to build around Zion Williamson. It could be good to free up that $27 million in cap space, as well as take on a young ascending center in Precious Achiuwa, who could provide them some help this season a little bit, and hopefully for them, for their sake in the future, can build up on the future. The reality is Precious Achiuwa is the one I penciled in here. However, you can use anybody else in that sort of price range, whoever the Pelicans want. But I think that adding in a young center to start for the team and kind of grow with the team could be worthwhile, because Precious Achiuwa absolutely has some potential. But the Raptors get back JV to solve basically the entire center dilemma with the team. Kem Birch would be a great backup to JV, and Satoransky more so there as filler, but can offer some sort of presence on the bench as a playmaker. The Pelicans maybe wouldn't want to go for this, but they should certainly consider adding in that much of some free cap space for the summer. The Raptors would absolutely relish the opportunity of bringing back JV, especially on $14 million. This trade seems a little bit unlikely, but there are benefactors to both teams. So there you have it. Those are my 3 perfect mock trades that involve Goran Dragic leaving the team and the Raptors bringing back some assets. Let me know which one was your favorite, or if you have your own mock trade that you think the Raptors could utilize to bring in some talent. But that is it for me for today. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Please, if you did enjoy, please like the video. Goes a long way to supporting the channel. And I mean, if you're still here this late in the video, surely you enjoyed the video, and that deserves a like. And also, if you really enjoyed it and want to see more from myself talking about the Raptors, make sure to subscribe to Amateur Sports. We're on a road to 8K, and you get 4+ Raptors videos a week when you subscribe. You can keep up to date with all of that right here. This is my vlog channel. Check out my vlogs. I go to Raptors 9 to 5 games, sometimes some Raptors games as well, and vlog my experiences. Check that out. And in the bottom corner here is Amateur Clips. We do a post-game show for every single Raptors game, including the one against the Jazz tonight. Go check out that there, and watch the live stream as we do a watch party on twitch.tv/amateursports. We start at 8:30 p.m. Eastern time tonight. See you again next time for another video.